Hi everyone, this is Sean Hester with Revizto. Thank you for joining me for another learning session. We're going to take a look at model management using our load-unload links dialog across the project. And this can be a tremendous value for projects that have a lot of model files or a large project, thinking spatially large, right? Campus, multiple buildings, similar to what we're looking at here. Multiple building, kind of a campus type feel with a lot of models loaded into the project. And scan files. This is a really good opportunity to turn or load and unload scan files within your project to make it easier to manage that information. Now this information is located up here in the upper right hand side with our load-unload links dialog. When I click that, it brings up this dialog box here. Now most important for this is there's a lot of information in here, right? All the model files that are brought in, who brought them in, when did they bring them in, when were they last synced, along with that ID and any transformation that's been done as well. Now the most important part of this dialog box when we're looking at model management is going to be our presets, okay? So that's going to be the drop down here right in the middle of Revizto at the top. This allows us to set specific presets that are going to help the team manage all the model files that we have brought in here. So for instance, we have all models, main models, we have some specific models, we have main model with site and scan. As I click on main model field use, okay, what that's going to do is it's going to take away the site, it's also going to take away the scan file, okay? Now when I load this and click on apply, you'll notice the site's gone, the scan is also gone. Now this is a true unloading of this information. This isn't just a hiding. So that means my computer is using less graphical power, less rendering power, right? So, my graphics card is working less to run this information, to render this information within Revizto, because we've truly unloaded the scan and truly unloaded that site information. So as we go back here, now this is important, right? Because when we're talking about these large files, we're talking about these large projects, and we want to be able to give access to this information to other people on the project besides the people who have the largest computers, right? That's, we don't want to be the silo for this information. So having some presets set up that has those large model files turned off, like we did with the site and the scan, is going to allow better use for our field teams. And you may have to break it up further. We might see certain buildings, right? Depending on how you set up your model management, we may talk about further breaking up model files so that we can leverage the presets to make those smaller chunks of information for the team to use. So again, I click a preset. In this instance, I'm going to that scan. And here we see just the scan. We don't see any of the other model information loaded into this project. Now our development team added another checkbox in our preferences, which works in combination with that dialog box, okay? Now I went to preferences, general, and here you can see that specify links to load each time the project opens. What that means is that when a team member goes to 3D, this dialog box is going to pop up on their screen in the beginning. And that's a good thing, right? We want them to load the right information as they're going to be digesting that specific chunks of information. Now the other thing that's great is that Revizto is going to remember this information when they come back in. So that preset is going to be loaded by default that they used the last time, and that information will be loaded. And in this case, my field team who's on their iPad, they're going to be able to get this information quickly, easily, and not have that iPad bogged down with the information they don't need to see. Another really important aspect of the load-unload links dialog box is that, as I said, this truly unloads that information from the project. So that means that any view that I go to is going to be relying on those presets that I've set up. So right now we're looking at the preset of just main model field use, okay? So what that means is that I don't see that scan or site file, right? So if I go into some specific viewpoints that I've set up, in this case I'm going to click on that point cloud scan, Revizto is going to go to that location. Revizto is going to apply any geometry hiding or coloring within the scene, but because I've unloaded that scan, we don't see that information. And again, that's an important distinction. So this can be part of some questions that you might get from your team. Hey, I clicked on this viewpoint. How come I don't see that information? Now, if I go back into our LoadUnload Links and I click on that scan information, I click Apply, we now see that point cloud model file within here that we can now navigate within the scene. So this goes for any views in the project. This also goes for views that we have in the issue tracker. So if I come into the issue tracker, right, and I click on a view that I'm looking at right here where I've actually called out some information regarding an issue in this existing conditions ductwork, I can see that information here in my scene. Now if I click another issue, okay, that was actually referenced in the model, we can see the model is not visible, right? And that's because we have turned that off. We've unloaded that in our preset. So if I turn that back on, we will see that information. Now, again, this is something you may get asked throughout the project. It's good just to work through this on an implementation perspective. This is part of that training that we do early on in the project to talk through, what you're seeing, what you're not seeing. And really, this is important because, we want to make sure the majority of the information that the project is seeing is an easy to select preset, right? This is what we're loading the majority of the time, or that all models. And then if we need to go in and take a look at specific little chunks, specifically that scan, where we need to do some verification, we can always click on that and load it, whether it's in the all models or it's in just the scan specific, where we can go in and see that information. Thank you for joining me for another learning session. If you do have any questions about the LoadUnload Links, please contact your Revizto contact and they will be sure to get back to you with any questions you may have.